Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our monthly ARAS webinar series. I am Marianne Garcia Bowerman, Associate Director of Programs at Emory University and current ARAS President. We are joined by other members of the ARAS Executive Committee as well. Our speaker today, Amanda Royan, is a Program Administrator from the Metro Health Case Western Reserve University program in Cleveland, Ohio. She has been with the program for over 5 years since it received initial accreditation. She has deep experience in graduate medical education and the operational realities of running a surgical residency program. She has spent years building systems, processes, and learning experiences that support residents, faculty, and program teams while navigating the complex demands of ACGME accreditation and day-to-day program operations. She holds a Master of Education from Kent State University and is passionate about adult education with additional experiences across healthcare, higher education, and organizational learning. Outside of work, Amanda enjoys exploring new restaurants or traveling, usually with the same level of strategic planning she brings to recruitment season. She loves spending time with her niece and nephew, who remind her that no matter how organized she is at work, there is fun to be had in the chaos. She's also a fan of craft projects and anything that lets her flex her creativity, especially after a long day of resident woes. She's an avid fiction reader and always looking for a good book recommendation. She's a devoted dog mom whose pup, Alfie the Moose, firmly believes he is the true center of her work-life balance. And when in doubt, you can find her in the sun recharging her battery. Amanda is bringing a thoughtful, data-informed approach to understanding how program administrators actually spend their time across ACGME requirements, ABS responsibilities, and the constant stream of other duties as assigned that shape our work more than any job description ever captures. Her goal is to make invisible demands visible and to strengthen the structures that support both administrators and the programs they keep running. Today, she'll guide us through a candid look at time allocation in surgical residency administration. You will have the chance to participate, contributing to a national data set that will be presented at the 2026 APDS meeting in Atlanta. This collective insight will help elevate the voice of program administrators and highlight the true scope of our work. Please join me in welcoming Amanda Royan.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for logging in and joining us. I want to let you guys know that this was presented at the ARAS meeting this past year. So if you were there for that, this may be a repeat for you. If not, I'm happy to have you. And if it is a repeat, I'm going to ask that you do not fill out the survey again as we get there. But it's helpful just to make sure that we don't have duplicate data as we validate for making sure that our argument is strong. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we can get started. So this is a case study of one program administrator's time allocation. Surprise that administrators me. Our learning objectives today, by the time this session is done, you'll be able to classify your daily tasks as requirements of the ACGME, ABS, your institution or department, and so on. You'll be able to generate an estimate of how much of your FTE is dedicated for which requirement, construct an ideal level of administrative support for your program, and document the current and ideal states for program administrative needs. So I don't have any disclosures. If anybody has a way for me to get them, let me know. I want to start with an origin story, why we're even here. So I am the middle daughter of 3 girls. I bring strong middle child energy. I have a drive to not be left out or behind or forgotten, with a side of independence and rebellion. This is a really nice picture of me and my sister. It doesn't quite capture the reality. This is a little bit closer to it. This is me telling my sister she's not doing it the right way. If I had an ability to do a David Attenborough voice, it would be, here she is in her natural element. Add to that, that we grew up in a bar and a restaurant. I have an all-girls school education and a brain that just doesn't stop. I'm just along for the ride. So at baseline, here's where we are. I have a natural drive to kind of disrupt, reinvent everything I do. Every time I do it, I'm trying to do it a little bit better. All right. I started my position on December 20th. Day one, new program, pre-accreditation. They handed me the application and the ACGME program requirements and said, make it work. So for extra context, I was new to GME. I was new to surgery, and we are the only surgical specialty at our hospital. So I was making it work. I thought that a lot of the struggles we were facing were just new program growing pains. It'll get better once the new residents are here, once we get past the first couple months, once we get through the first academic year, once our first class graduates, once we pass the 2-year site visit, once we have a full 5 years under our belts. Well, after about a year and a half of gaslighting myself, I realized this isn't a job for one person. Again, I went back to maybe it's just the new program thing, but it's not. I started to connect with all of you through the Facebook group, the annual meeting, and continued conversations. I heard so many of the same things from seasoned veteran administrators and new ones alike, and from established programs as well as new ones. So now in our timeline, we're fast forwarding to the 2024 ARAS annual meeting in Orlando. ACGME announced it was lowering the FTE for some of the programs. During the Q&A portion, I asked APDS and ABS if they were willing to put out an FTE for non-ACGME requirements or best practices. The response I got was something between surprise, and we don't have that data. A few years before this, Brienne Nichols started an initiative to gather the data on how program administrator time is spent. Brienne can correct me if I'm wrong, and I know that she will, but I don't believe enough data was collected. Because in the words of Sweet Brown, ain't nobody got time for that. Coordinators don't have time to track our time, and our tasks vary so widely from institution to institution. So that lit my fire, and that's why we're here today. But it's not just me. I'm hoping all of you are coming along for the ride. We're going to try this again, but tackling it a little bit differently. I'm going to walk through how my time is allocated. At the same time, you can complete a survey with how yours is allocated. This data is going to be a little bit more subjective than the time tracking, but I think most of us have a good idea of what we need to make our jobs and programs better. After all, we manage this chaos every day. So pull out your phones, or I think somebody's going to drop a link in the chat to get to the survey. I'll give you guys a few minutes to pull that up. Perfect. I'm going to keep moving on. I hope everybody was able to pull that up. Okay, we're going to start with the basics. Super easy stuff here. Your program type. Ours is a university-based or academic. We're affiliated with Case Western Reserve University. Our program size is 16 to 25 residents. I will never pass up a time or an opportunity to show you my residents' smiling faces. Don't let them know they're in here, because if they found out, they're going to ask if they can add this to their CV or their scholarly activity. Okay, last one here. Our program location, we're urban, right in the middle of Cleveland. Program resources, current FTE dedicated to the program. This is administrative. It was 1.4. Sadly, since I gave this presentation originally, we lost part of our team. She has been out on administrative or medical leave for a while. And so we're back to 1, just me. So the next question is, does this include support for simulation? Yes, for us it does. How often do you work more than 40 hours a week? For me, I work more than 40 hours a week, 3 times a month at least. Am I compensated for that time? Unfortunately, I am not. Ideally, I flex it and make it up, but that rarely happens. Okay, We're going to talk about your PD FTE now. This is in practice, not what's on paper. Does your PD have the required FTE for program oversight based on your program size? In other words, does their clinical schedule, call burden, or other administrative responsibilities impact how they are able to use the administrative time dedicated to it? My current PD has the minimum, but her schedule varies widely. She's a trauma surgeon, so there could be times where she's on service 3 weeks in a row and then has administrative time for 1 week, and we are playing catch up for everything that piled up. My last program director did not. While on paper, she had the time. She was on call 24/7 every other week. Often, as I was coming in to do work with her, catch up on things, she was heading home and to sleep because she was operating all night. Or on other administrative days, she was adding on big combo cases with other surgeons. So you can see it's very easy for these things to just kind of creep in. At one point, I listed on our APE that we did not have the right FTE, and GME told me to take it off because we actually did on paper. Does your program have an associate or assistant program directors? Our program does. I'm going to switch over and show you their lovely faces. If you answered no to that last question, you're going to pause here because people that answered yes have a few follow-up questions. So just take a pause and I'll let you know when you're going to jump back in. So you should be on question 10. How many associate program directors does your program have? For us, it's 2. We have Dr. Kowalski and Dr. Dorsey. How much FTE is allocated for each of those? Each of them has 0.1 for our program. And again, we really struggled with the on paper versus reality as they came on to our program leadership. We really had to fight for that time to be protected. And it still sometimes isn't. Okay. Do you have assistant program directors? This may not be as common as the associate program director. They aren't going to have as big of a role or responsibility necessarily with the program. So we also have 2 assistant program directors, Dr. Falls and Dr. Kohler. Lastly, how much FTE is allocated to each assistant program director? My assistant program directors do not have dedicated time. They are doing this out of the goodness of their heart. All right, so if you were paused, you're jumping back in. We're all going to continue on this together now. So we should be on number 14. Does your program leadership team have academic productivity related to surgical education? For us, the answer is yes. Obviously, I'm here giving this presentation, but I'm the only one in our group that does. Next up, is your program leadership team satisfied with their level of academic productivity related to surgical education? We are absolutely not. We would like to have all the time and space. We would like to have time and space to identify new projects, write up things that we're already doing, or not feel completely overwhelmed when we do finally submit something. 16, do you feel that you and your program leadership team have time to implement new ideas, best practices, and invest time on continuous improvement for the program? Note that this isn't the things that you're doing to put out fires and respond to citations. Those are separate. For us, this is a no. We are all talk and no action on this. Even our action plan items have been the low-hanging fruit and efforts we were already doing to put out the fires. Number 17, this is where you're going to talk about your wish list, essentially. In a perfect world, how much administrative FTE would your program need to have the time and space to do all of the things and get to the improvements that you want to make? For me, I put this at 2.0 with an asterisk because I feel like this also has to have very clear lines with other educational team member responsibilities. This 2.0 cannot be doing the other stuff that some of the other stuff that I'm going to bring up here. Okay, the next part of this survey is where we're going to estimate your division of time. I'm going to talk through as we go through this, how I kind of came to these numbers. And I have a little cheat for you, so don't worry about it too much. But at the end, the math needs to math here. I have faith in you. I know you can do it. We're going to go through these one at a time, and I'm going to give you time to consider your answers here. So the first bucket that we are going to estimate is what percent of your time is spent on requirements for another residency, a fellowship program, research residents, medical students, or rotating residents. Again, all of these should be entered in a 0 to 100. So I have, this is the cheat sheet I have for you. Each of these in 5% increments breaks down what that equates to in hours per week, days per year, and weeks per year. There are different things that I do that I feel like I know I spend 3 hours a week on this, or there's other things where it's a big project and I am going to lose a week to it. So these different scales will help you kind of parse that out with your estimate. So as far as other learners, my program has a high number of rotators compared to the number of residents we have in our program, roughly 150 per year. My counterpart handles their onboarding and everything they need, but they do rotate onto the services with our residents. And so logistics often get a little bit more intertwined. Impact of other learners, anyone. My counterpart also handles the med students, and I cover for her when she's out on vacations or FMLA. This past year, she was out for 5 weeks in addition to her vacation time. I am so glad she was able to step away and spend that time with her mother. We have always made sure to support each other, and when we need to be out, we make it happen. And we will continue to do that. However, supporting the med students and the rotators can take up a huge, can make a huge impact on my day-to-day, and it should be factored in. Teams cannot run so lean that when one person's out, everything else fails. Oh, I went way too far. There we go. Okay. Lastly, we have a research resident position available, and after our first resident went through and completed their time, we realized that there wasn't a lot of oversight or accountability, and it led to a lot of dissatisfaction and research productivity and low research productivity. We moved the research resident oversight to my PD and me. And while it's not a lot of time, these things start to add up. They need to be considered. So I estimate that about 7% of my time is spent here. The next one, what percent of your time is spent on activities related to the American Board of Surgery, EPA management, implementation, ABSITE, reports, board applications? Here are your charts again. So in this area, this is going to be anything that triggers a what would Barbara do? And in case you need more suggestions for what else falls in here, include the ABSITE. It's around the corner. ABSITE, or an in-training exam, is not a program requirement. It is mentioned once in the current program requirements, and I think you'll be surprised on where it is. It listed as a PEC responsibility, the results should be reviewed. Nothing else is mentioned. So anytime that you spend creating a schedule, booking a room, getting the browser downloaded, testing it, administering, proctoring, creating the floor plans, all of that should be considered. All the times you have to explain the ABS leave policy, and that no, they have not defined a clinical week yet. Oh, and EPAs. Let's not even get started. That's a whole nother webinar. I estimate about 10% here. I want to take a quick pause. Or do people feel like they have enough time to think through and get their estimates? Feel free to unmute yourselves if somebody wants to let me know that we should go a little bit slower. I will take that as we're doing fine. Okay. What percent of your time is spent on program extras? So this is all the stuff that makes your program great for the residents. And I think this is some of the stuff that we all really love. Event management and planning, catering, ordering program swag, all that sort of stuff. Again, here are your charts. So I think we need to think about this because so many of these extras get tangled up in some of the program requirements. So let's think about it this way. We have to graduate residents. We don't have to plan the party. I lose at least a week of my time planning events like graduation, holiday parties, welcome, picnic, all that sort of stuff. Our residents have to operate, but they don't have to do it in coordinating scrub caps and jackets with their names on them. I am sure the ACGME cares about Thank a Resident Day, but they certainly don't require the celebration. Residents should have scholarly activity, but it isn't an ACGME requirement that you provide and manage an education fund that facilitates it. My motto for my residents is fed is best. And while I'm happy to do it, the time spent on catering and getting everything set up, also not an ACGME requirement, unless that's the only access they have to food. Simulation. I facilitate and have even written much of our simulation curriculum. ACGME requires simulation, but specifies that additional FTE is needed if the program coordinator has responsibilities related to it. They don't, however, put a number on it. Wellness activities. As my GME office often advises us, the ACGME they aren't looking for the ice cream social. They're looking for the monitoring efforts and activities to promote well-being. We are lucky to have department support for the ice cream social type events, but they don't count towards the ACGME requirements. Add those things in here. This is a big bucket for me. I would say about 20% of my time is spent here. Okay, this is one that is going to look very different for a lot of different people. So I did my best to give some examples, but I'm never going to be able to capture all of the things that you may have to do outside of ACGME stuff for your institution or your department. Examples could include CME, billing, payroll, QI and PI activities, management of other staff, schedules, institutional or GME reporting and initiatives that are not ACGME requirements, visa management. So I recently took back CME, our education coordinator who is currently out on leave was handling it, but it's back for me. That takes definitely time to navigate our system. Faculty frequently saying, I forgot to sign in. Can you add my attendance? I've trained no fewer than 4 people to take over M&M from me. Again, M&M program requirement, but actually making sure the conference happens in the way that I do is not the ACGME requirement. It keeps coming back to me like a bad penny though. I lose at least an hour to a week managing the list, following up with our selection committee, ensuring the residents that are selected to present are actually there, making sure that the list is out, explaining the process to rotating residents. It goes on. Schedules. I'm responsible for building our block schedule. Do you remember when I told you we have about 150 rotating residents? We have to make sure that that block schedule is rotated for, or is balanced for all of our rotations so that we have the appropriate coverage and the appropriate level of education. I hope to have our admin chiefs take it over, but over the past few years, we haven't had one that truly can own that. I've heard from many other administrators that you are responsible for creating call schedules, day-to-day schedules for the residents, or even involvement in faculty schedules, such as updating call lists. All of that should be considered here. I'm unsure if anyone else's GME office is really great at creating extra work, but mine seems to be. Whether it's a project to create equal, but not equitable meal stipends for call shifts that took at least a week over a year for them to, a week of my time over a year to figure it out. A DEIB curriculum that each program had to implement along with a DEIB QI project, or a teaming training for our residents because one of our IM faculty members received a grant and our DIO thought this was good for everyone and now it's required. Ooh, our GME office also wants us to list in detail all of our education schedules on the internet so that any Metro Health employee can join us, even though that's not educationally appropriate for our residents. This is a good bucket to also include time for inefficient systems and processes that you deal with in your institution. For me, it's accounts payable and purchasing. My estimate here is about 15%. This is kind of your other duties as assigned. What percent of your time is spent on other activities? So you can consider local, regional, or national committee service or presentations, CTAGME, notary, and continuing education for yourself. And you guys are all here in this room, so congrats on making some time for it. I'm not CTAGME, nor do I have, and it's not required. I do have a committee appointment now. I am a member of the ARAS Executive Committee. Unfortunately, these activities usually end up pretty low on my priority list, but between Surgical Education Week, other conferences, webinars, and a handful of presentations over the years, I've been able to carve out some time. I've also become the go-to person in our department to ask about research methods related to surgical education. So my estimate's 3%. It might be a little bit higher now with the executive committee position. Okay, are you guys ready for that math that I mentioned? It's our last bucket. What percent of your time is spent on ACGME requirements for surgery residency? Here's the math. You were going to add up each of those buckets that you already estimated. That's other programs, ABS responsibilities, program extras, department and institution requirements, and those other activities. My total is 55. This is your non-ACGME duties. Take that and subtract from 100. What's left is the time left over for the ACGME requirements. I think we're all here. I'm going to give you just a second to review your the time that you put in. Make sure that it adds up to 100 at the end. If things are not adding up to 100, I have to eliminate the entire entry. So please make sure that you double check that right now. Okay, I'm going to keep moving on. This last section of the survey is very straightforward. It's more about you. And it should just take a few more minutes to complete. So I'm going to hang up my hat as your guide on this survey and let you complete that on your own. Please make sure that you go all the way through and hit submit. If you don't hit submit, I will not get your responses. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to move on to a few acknowledgements. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Esther Sang, my program director, and Dr. Marie Crandall, my past chair of surgery. Thank you for the support and encouragement in the development of this idea and my career, and as my career continues in surgical education. Lisa Kempton from the Cleveland Clinic and Rachel Rocky Marshall from University Hospitals are my fellow Cleveland administrators and mastermind support. Thank you for reviewing my survey and providing feedback as I developed this talk. Emma Royan, sister extraordinaire and soon to be academic. She is defending her dissertation in a couple weeks. She also reviewed my survey and provided feedback. A big thank you to the ARAS Executive Committee for the opportunity to present today and the support and all you do within our field. Rand Nickel, obviously I drew inspiration from her initial project and presentation on time tracking. Thank you for being a great example of such a positive force in our field. And all of you, thank you for the time and honesty in completing the survey. This project can't happen if you don't give us the information. I'm really excited to see where this all goes and present it at the APDS meeting. All right, with that, any questions?
Thanks, Amanda. That was great. Are we able to complete this later? Is it still open? Like, I've got a few more questions to answer.
Yes, I'm not closing it right now. And
Okay.
we will, when the recording goes out, I will identify a deadline for how long, because at some point I do need to pull the data and pull it all together because when I submitted this for APDS, I have to have a manuscript in before. So I need time to pull it all together and make sure that it gets written up before the presentation and the deadline.
Perfect. Perfect. Does anyone have any questions or comments? It really does highlight that we all have the same roles, but different roles. Because I also work with scheduling in rotators, but I don't spend quite as much time. I don't have 100, but I do have a lot of internal applications to do and all that kind of stuff, which takes a lot of time. And then also when my residents rotate outside, I have a lot of applications to do as well. So that takes a lot of time. Does anybody else have any comments? Well, I guess we'll give you another half an hour in your day so you can get some other stuff done and complete that survey if you haven't done it yet. And hopefully we'll see everyone at APDS ARAS meeting in April, May in Atlanta and hear more from Amanda.
Great. Thank you, guys. Looking forward to seeing everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, ARAS Committee. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.